to this point, we have mostly been dealing with data that we can describe as being perfect data. And what I mean by that is whenever we graph our points generally make a shape that is a perfect line or a perfect curve. And this is good for practicing and getting the basics of math, but in real life, data is very rarely perfect. It usually creates something that is called a scatter plot. And that means the data will often have what is called an association, but it rarely is a perfect association. It's rarely a perfectly straight line or a perfect curve. So we describe it in terms of its association. And for right now, we're just going to focus on three different types of association. Three different types. There are a bunch of associations that you'll learn eventually, but for right now, we're just going to look at three of them. The first is called a positive association. And a positive association means as the x increases, y also increases. This means both of our variables are going up together. As you go from left to right on the x-axis, you go up on the y-axis. The points appear to be going upwards from left to right. The second type of association is called a negative association. As x increases, y decreases. And this makes it look like the data is going down. As we move from left to right, the dots, the points appear to be going in a downward trajectory. Downward. Not perfectly down. You can see that there's some exceptions where it sort of scatters out a little bit, but in general, it's going down. And then finally, we've got no association at all. This is when there seems to be no relationship, or rather, we should say, seems to be no linear relationship. We'll just say relationship for now. Seems to be no relationship between x and y. As x increases, y does whatever it feels like. So, an example of a positive association might be your height and shoe size. In general, taller people tend to have larger feet, right? Taller people tend to have larger feet. This doesn't mean that it's a perfect association. Two people who are both 6 feet tall could have different sized shoes. So it's not perfect, but in general, as you are taller, you have bigger shoes. Okay. Something that might be a negative association, something that as x increases, y decreases. Well, this could be something like let's say, your age and your free time. The older you get, the less free time you have. Although maybe it could be argued that eventually this starts to go back up. Like when you retire, you suddenly have more free time. I don't know. I'm not retired. I can't comment. But in general, the older you get, the less free time you have. So maybe that would be an example of a negative association. And then finally, no association. There's no relationship between the two. This might be something like your height and your grades. Okay. The height that you are has no effect on the grades that you make. Tall people can make good or bad grades. Short people can make good or bad grades. Your height doesn't have any effect on the kind of grades that you make. We could also do height and free time. How tall you are generally has no effect on your free time, although we wouldn't say that this is a probably not a no association because as you age, you tend to get taller. So maybe that would have a weak association rather than no association. Anyway, back to our problem here. Susan asked 20 people if they would buy a new product she developed at each of several prices. The scatter plot shows how many of the 20 said yes at a given price. Describe the association. Well, we can clearly see that this is what would be referred to as a negative association, right? The points are going down as we move from left to right. As x increases, y decreases. Well, what does that mean? It means as the price goes up, the buyers go down. As price increases, number of buyers decreases. And this makes complete sense. As you charge more for a product, there are fewer people who are willing to buy it. The more expensive something gets, the less likely someone is to buy it. That is an example of a negative association.